Hi, it's April 13th and I'm not in class today, but this is kind of in lieu of class. You will find this video, hopefully you will find this video on Unit 6, and I will email you the link as well. And if that link doesn't work in the email, I will just tell you that it's going to be under Unit 6. So today, April 13th, will be under Unit 6. And if you're watching this, you probably already found it. So when we're starting Unit 6, we're going to be doing Chapter 6 in our book, and Chapter 6 talks about unit and lesson planning. We've talked a lot about lesson planning, but we've done a little bit of the unit planning, and we're going to be planning our own during this next couple weeks. So you are going to be thinking about what you want to do your unit plan on and the lessons that are going to be involved in it. This is more of like you're going to explain things to me other than you don't actually have to show me the lessons, because sometimes the lessons are going to be difficult to find, and I'll show you what I'm looking for in a second here. So for Unit 6, there's a classroom management and teacher salaries. We are going to be doing this together in class on April 20th. So if you are in class with us on April 20th, this will be something that we're going to be doing all together. If you are not in class with us on April 20th, this is what will be due April 22nd, and so you are welcome to watch the Zoom of April 20th and then get that figured out and turn your stuff in to me on April 22nd. The muddy and clear are just questions like, do you understand unit planning? Do you have any questions about unit planning? What are you clear about, and what are you kind of still confused about? The unit plans are actually going to be turned in right here. And once we open this up, I'll show you how this works. So it says upload the unit plans that you've been working on independently and in class, and those are the ones we're starting today and working on Thursday too, on the 15th. And for clarification on this assignment, you're welcome to go back and watch class from today, April 13th, and Thursday, which is April 15th. And I have those in the Zoom link, the cloud recordings. So if you are not familiar with where to find them, you go to the Zoom side of this screen, and there's going to be a thing say cloud recordings. If you click cloud recordings, then everything is going to be recorded on here. We've got every class we've had, quite some time now. So the 8th, the 6th, the 1st, and those on. So that you're always welcome to go back and watch those. They're not quality. They're not quality because, Zoom is what it is, so you actually see what we're doing in class. So that's what we're doing now. All this is going to be due April 22nd. That's going to give you about 2 weeks to do it, a little less than 2 weeks to do it, but I feel pretty confident this is something that you'll be able to handle. If you notice, there is no Chapter 6 quiz in this unit because of this unit plan. It is kind of hefty. And then also this classroom management and teacher salaries assignment is a little bit hefty as well. So we're going to not do the quiz this time. Okay, so what we're going to start out with is, Carson, I know you're looking more towards younger students, and Libby, I know you're looking more towards older students, and Megan, I think you're kind of in the middle where you haven't quite decided what we're going to do yet. So I'm going to show you a unit plan for younger kids, and I'm going to show you a unit plan for older students, and you can kind of take that and start from there. So we're going to start with yours, Carson, and this is going to be a let's build a sentence unit plan. And remember when we wrote it on the board, like, you have to start out with what do your kids know? What do your students already know? And then we go from what we already know to what do I want them to know? And then what are the lessons that I know I have to teach to get them to do that? And then how am I going to assess that? What is going to be the end result? Like, how do I know if they know they're going to be able to write a sentence or say a sentence or look at a sentence and say that's what a sentence is? So you're going to have to decide how you want to test that or like assess that, or how do you know your students have reached that criteria? But let's start with what our students probably know. So the things that our students probably know about sentence planning is that words make thoughts. Like, if you have some words together, they're going to make a thought. And sentences begin with a capital letter and end with some kind of punctuation, some kind of stop sign. And I'm thinking kids between the ages of 1st and 3rd grade are probably going to know that. And the reason I say 1st and 3rd grade is because of that part right there. It says suitable for grades 1 through 3. So depending on if you're teaching this unit to a 1st grader versus a 3rd grader, you're going to use different language and you're going to have different assessments. But that's where your relationship with your students come in. Okay, and then we're going to have the objectives. What do we want our students to be able to do? So this is the students will be able to For yours, the first one's going to be the students will be able to identify a simple sentence as a group of words that contains a subject, a verb, and express a complete thought. Okay, that's what I need them to know that. That's my objective. And so what do I need to teach to have that happen? Well, I'm going to have to teach what a subject is. I'm going to have to teach what a verb is. I'm going to have to teach what a complete thought is. You're going to have to know how to start and you have to stop that sentence. So those are kind of things you need to think about. If I'm going to be teaching this, how do I assess that as well? Do I want them to write a sentence, read a sentence, point out the identifiers in a sentence? That's up to you. I mean, you're going to be knowing your students. So those objectives are the ones that we want our students to know how to do and perform. And this is the preparing the lessons. It gives you different ideas, posters and learning goals and stuff like that. Totally optional. And so then what this lesson plan does, or this unit plan does, is it breaks it into several different lessons. So lesson 1, what is a sentence? And it's going to tell you it's going to take 60 minutes in which students will identify what a simple sentence is in a group of words that contains a subject, verb, expresses a complete thought. Does that sound familiar? That's the objective that's right up here. So what they're doing is they're making every objective into a different lesson. Now, we could view this, and I think you do have to pay for this, and it is a download, so this isn't always the best website to start with. It is called teachstart.com. It's a great one to get ideas from. It's not always great to be using all of this, and I'll tell you why, because once you upgrade to download, I think they have to make you pay for it. Let me see. Yeah, you have to sign up and pay for it. So I probably wouldn't do that, but this will give you a good idea on what they're talking about for units. And what also I like about this is they've already got this hooked to your Common Core standards. So this one right here, CCSS means Common Core State Standards. ELA is English Language Learning, and then dash literacy dash or .L.1.1. So this is saying that if I click this, it will take you to what the code means for those letters. But this is the curriculum right here. Demonstrate command of the conventions of standard English grammar and usage when writing or speaking. That's the core standard we're supposed to be hitting with this. And it goes back to our objectives, which goes back to our lesson. Hope that makes sense. Okay, and so then you can keep right on a trucking with that. So I'm going to go back to my second lesson. Here's my second lesson 2, important verbs, which matches up with our second objectives, finding the verbs in your action clauses or sentences. Lesson 3, proper nouns. Lesson 4. So you get the idea. So a unit plan on how to build a sentence really breaks down as what do my students have to know so I can get to that level of what they need to learn to build a sentence. So at the end, this website does a pretty great job of lining out your Common Core curriculum standards, and they do all of them here. So now, if it was me doing this, I would throw some social studies or science in there. Instead of just writing sentences about just random things, maybe we can start writing sentences about something more concrete, like whatever you're studying in science, or whatever you're studying in social studies, or whatever you're studying on the map. Something like that, because sometimes it's easier to pull in and make up sentences if it has to do around a common theme. So that's what a unit plan would look like. Now what you are to do is you are to come up with a unit plan, like, let's build a sentence. That's a great unit plan. And you can use something like this, but then you're going to have to map it out. Remember we did on the board? The first part of your paper is going to be like 4 things I know my students already know, or 5 things you know your students already know. Then what do I want to teach them? And that would come from your objectives. Like, this is what they have to know how to do. That's what I want them to know how to do. How am I going to assess it? And how am I going to teach it? What are my lessons? So those are the kind of a circular idea that we were talking about before. That's what's going to be on your paper. All right, Libby, your turn. Let's look at yours. So for you, I have a website called justaddstudents.com, which is kind of great. And it does for, it says middle school, but a lot of the stuff can be used for high school too. And I was thinking of you, when you're going to be teaching across overseas, you are probably going to have a lot of first-time English language learners. And here in the United States, we call them ESL, so English as a second language. You're also going to see ELA, which is English Language Arts. You're also going to hear words called ELL, it's an English Language Learner. So the difference between an ESL, English as a second language, and ELL as English as language learner depends on how much language they know prior to coming into this session. So that's probably the students that you're going to be hitting most with. So this is kind of a great one. At justaddstudents.com. It's kind of like a how to write lesson plans that you are going to actually use. And this one, if you can click on this, if you want to look it up, organize and plan your thoughts for a year-long plan. And that's what we've been talking about before. When you're taking, especially one subject, you're really going to have to look at that one subject if you're doing history, language, English, whatever it is, and like how am I going to get them from at the beginning of the year to the end of the year, and look at a year-long plan, which is kind of great. Okay, so this one, let me go back. I'm going to keep right on down here. So this right here. So what are my goals for this unit? And that's kind of like those objectives. Your goals are going to be your values, but we're going to be looking at them bigger picture. And this is where you would come in just because you're doing that one subject. So you want your students to be able to write a paper, a story, a poem, a play, present on a lesson, read and comprehend the informational text, make a poster, diorama, speech, debate, perform, videos, take a test, whatever this is. This is where you're going to start with that idea. This is what I want them to know. So first of all, what do they know going into your class, which is going to be kind of hard for you. So just kind of pick a country, pick an age group, maybe like, high school sophomores. What do I want my sophomore to know how to do? And what do they think they already know? And start with what they know, what I want them to do, which you can definitely take these as a example. And then once I have that, how am I going to assess that? And then what lessons am I going to have to get a hold of or make up to make sure that they're learning what I want them to learn at the end. So if this is where you want your end goal to be, then you're going to have to look at how do I teach them to write a paper? And that would be your first lesson. So can you write a paper in one lesson? As a sophomores, probably not, because you're going to have to think about, structure of your paper and, conclusion paragraphs versus, beginning paragraphs, and then like your ideas in the middle. So, and how many paragraphs and how many sentences make up a paragraph and those kind of things. So it may take longer than one lesson to be able to learn how to write a paper. But remember, this is like your year-long plans you want them to know how to do. So, right here, this was an idea that they had for this, is to find out where your students are, is to give them a summative assessment. Now, Carson, you would not be doing this in your grades because this is too much for little guys to handle. Older grades might be able to do this. If you just give them a test at the first day of school, the first week of school, to find out where they are. What do you know about them? And this might be a good idea if you don't have prior knowledge to this class before that. They give you different ideas for like book clubs. It's something else that you could do to help teach some of that stuff. All right, so once we have your identifiers, like what you know your students know, what you want them to know, how you're going to assess it, and then now your lesson plans. And so this is where you get those Common Core standards too. So RL stands for Reading Literature. So Common Core Standard RL 6.1 is that you're going to textualize evidence, support, and analyze inferences and draw from the text. So those are objectives of where you do. You'd break up your assessments, and this is an idea for formative assessments of things that you could have your students do for book clubs, character talks, and those things. This is just a breakdown of activities if you're going to do a book club, and then each one of these would be like what your lesson would look like. And kind of go from there. So my time is going to be up in a couple minutes here. My screencast only goes for 15 minutes, so when my 15 minutes is up, it's going to stop. So both of you, Carson and Libby, what you would do is you would start at the top of your paper and say, this is going to be a lesson unit plan on whatever. What my students already know, what I want them to know, what my assessments are going to be, and these are the lessons I'm going to be able to teach. And you don't need to write out the whole lessons. What we're going to be doing is just like the big idea of what those lessons are going to be hitting. Okay? So we're going to be doing this again on Thursday, and we'll do a mock one together, and then you'll be able to start some of your own. Okay? See you Thursday.